She is a PWHL play-by-play voice and Olympic broadcaster, Daniella Ponticelli. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course. Great to be with you both.
Did you watch Catch Me If You Can? Was that in your repertoire?
I did. I actually rewatched it recently, which made me chuckle when you guys were having this conversation. Don't know why. It was one of those nights where, when you're just like, I want to watch a movie. I don't know what I want to watch. And it was the first thing that popped up. I'm like, yes, let's just do it. Let's rewatch it. It is great. It stands the test of time, too, given, it's not the newest film, but it is so good. So many great performances, not only Leo, but everybody else as well.
Well, yeah, we kept saying just how bad we felt for the poor nurse. Oh, yes. Amy Adams, yeah. I forget her name. But, oh, man. Anyway,
yeah, she's track. So young.
I know. So, okay, we're going to get to the Walter Cup here in a moment. PWHL playoffs start this week. More on that in a sec. First, I want to turn the spotlight onto you. You just called your 90th broadcast last week. That is a major milestone. I know that you're probably beyond that now. But did you have a minute to soak that in, or was it just another day at the office?
It was really cool. I mean, I don't really track many of those things. I tracked my 50th, and that's what kind of clued me in. I'm like, I must be getting close. If that was my 50th, I must be getting close to 100. So next season, we'll crack, the 100 mark. But it is really wild to think about that, because there are players, of course, who haven't played 90 games. And so it is pretty special to get to have witnessed that much of this very young league and be part of so many incredible moments. The first Michigan, the first shutouts, the first shootout finishes, the first playoff game and wins, etc. It's really cool to be growing with this league and to be with it every step of the way.
I'm not going to make you pick your favorite game, but did you have a welcome to the PWHL moment, one that stands out?
Oh, okay. Ooh. I would say, it's going to sound wild, it wasn't even the first game. It was the game the day after was in Ottawa. It was their home opener, and Poulin finally getting to play, put on the Montreal colors. And so that was pretty surreal to actually get to call a game that has Poulin in it. And then more than that, she gets booed when there's a penalty shot that she's been awarded in the game. And the whole crowd boos. And that just felt surreal. It just reminded everybody like, oh, yeah, we're happy everyone's here, but let's not forget that there's a game to be won. And we don't want Montreal to win, right? This was in Ottawa. So I think that one stands out. But there's so many. There's so many that I'm so thrilled that I got to be a part of, including actually Saturday's clincher in Ottawa, because of the fact that there's been this through line through the season of Carla McLeod, head coach for the Charge, who's been a mainstay on Team Canada previously, international coach, battling breast cancer. So it was just like a really incredible moment that the team got there under the interim head coach. Apparently Carla is going to be back for the playoffs, which is fantastic to hear. But just a team that's been so resilient through so much change, and they really had a statement finish to clinch their spot.
Yeah.
Favorite place to call a game? Sorry.
Oh, that's a great question.
Oh, okay. I've let a few fans know this, so I don't think anyone's coming after me. It's going to be Montreal, and it's going to be both the buildings in Montreal, Place Bell, which is a mini version of the Bell Center. Place Bell holds about 10,000 plus. That place is jam-packed, sold out Tuesday nights, Saturday afternoons, Saturday evenings, Friday nights, whatever day of the week. And it always feels like a nightclub. Even when it's a matinee game, I've done noon games there, and I'm like, what time is it? Like, it just feels like there's just this energy and this vibe, and I just love that. And the Montreal fans show up in spades, and we know that they love hockey, but to see that translate to the women's game so easily, like, no question, the fans travel well as well. So I'm going to have to say, for now, Montreal is one of my favorites, but I do truly love each building has its own charm and genuine fan culture and atmosphere. So that's my diplomatic answer. There's no place I don't like calling. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
You bring up the fans quite a bit, and, sold out crowds, breaking records this season, last season. The fandom continues to grow. I do want to ask you specifically, though, what is the story behind Debbie the Superfan?
Oh, okay. So Debbie's been there since day one. Her name's Debbie Harrison. She lives somewhere in the GTA. We know that. She's a Toronto Scepter season ticket holder. She also, I don't know if she has seasons in Ottawa, but she goes to Ottawa pretty frequently. She just tries to get to as many games as she can. And from day one, her thing is she just wants to dress up as something. So she's dressed up as like a Crayola crayon in the PWHL purple color. She's dressed as a referee. She's dressed as the Walter Cup. She's dressed as the keeper of the cup. She's dressed as... I can't even begin to describe all the different things she's done. Sometimes she'll make props to bring with her. Like she had a tabletop hockey set she made where she decorated it with fully the scepters and fully the charge. Like she is just dedicated, and she spends a lot of time planning all these things out. And so I was pleasantly surprised. It was the Women's Day game, and I actually wasn't calling it. I just happened to be there, and she had a sign for my partner Becky Keller and I. And I'm like, okay, I think the ultimate way to say thank you is to dress up as her, because she's dressing up as everything. I'm like, someone's got to dress up as Debbie.
There
and so I
if you're watching the stream, we got a video there.
I'm just so pleased that I found what I think to be a really good wig match, I have to say.
You did.
I think I did a decent job there. And you had to get the right kind of glasses. But I mean, she's just a gem. I've always had great chats with her post game, and she just loves, and not only this league, she's been supporting women's hockey for decades, especially Team Canada. There's been full Team Canada fits and all of that. So that's who Debbie is. I love that I get to shout her out. She's pretty amazing.
Okay, cool. Because I saw that over the weekend, and I just knew I had to ask what the story was. I figured that you would be, very, very familiar with her story, so I appreciate that. But without the fans, obviously, we don't get to see PWHL hockey. But we should talk about some PWHL hockey because we're getting so close. Yeah. Not every Ottawa hockey team is out of the playoffs, so that's good news. Ottawa, Boston, Minnesota, Montreal. Who do you see as peaking at the right time?
Well, I'm gonna go with the underdog Ottawa, but I see a Canadian team. This is gonna be my bold prediction. I see a Canadian team finally being triumphant. I know it's only the third season, but it just feels like with the Canadian teams finishing top two the last 3 seasons, with the exception Boston finally being the first American team to do it this year, I think it makes sense. The Victoire are in the best shape they've ever been, and that's with Poulin having missed so many games due to injury. They finally figured it out. They were super top heavy on their top line. Now they have the depth. They're getting back end scoring, and my goodness, Anne-Renee Desbiens is on another one. I know Team Canada couldn't close it out at the Olympics, but she has been so consistent. But then, of course, you look at a team like Boston, and you have the Olympic champion goaltending there. So there's going to be lots, but I really do believe if I'm going to pick the underdog, I'm going with Ottawa, who is truly the underdog in this situation. The top 3 teams in our league separated themselves quite early in the season, and then it was a fight for the middle, which is to be expected with the expansion teams being in the bottom 2. And it was such a fun fight for the middle that it really felt like it could go anywhere. But then in the last month, especially, Ottawa, all the pieces came together. The scoring, the depth, yet again, rookies contributing, and their goaltending, and Gwyneth Phillips, who had the playoff MVP last year. She's back in playoff form, better than ever. So I would be terrified facing Ottawa, which is, I believe, why Montreal decided to go with Minnesota.
I was going to mention that. I think there are so many groundbreaking, fantastic ideas that the PWHL has brought forward, from determining draft order and, again, that whole system. But the playoffs, I think, is amazing how you pick your opponent. How much time and effort do you think goes into analyzing with the analytics into each matchup, or is it more gut?
Oh, that's a great question, because I'm still trying to figure that out. Okay, where are the teams going? Because in my mind, everyone kept asking me, who do you think Montreal's choosing? This was before Montreal officially clinched first, but we sort of knew it was trending that direction. And I'm like, I just don't know how you choose against, or how you choose the back-to-back champs. Minnesota, back-to-back champions. How do you choose them? And the last 2 seasons, they eked their way into the playoffs. And I think that's the difference. They chose Minnesota. Yes, in the regular season, Montreal swept them through their regular season series. That's huge. But more than that, Minnesota clinched their spot, and then they've basically been on this downward spiral of very inconsistent goaltending, majority of losses in the last month. I think they came away with 2 wins. It's just been sloppy play, despite the fact that they have the 2 leading scorers in the league. So for once, this Minnesota team does not appear to have the depth that it had, that was its backbone the last 2 seasons. So I have a feeling there is obviously some analytics involved, but the fact that Montreal decided to be bold, they went with the number 3 seed, so not choosing the number 4, which is the benefit of being number 1. And for the longest time, Dave, the discussion around, especially the broadcasters, were like, oh man, you're fighting for first so that you can please play 4. We just assumed that nobody would want to touch any of the top 3 teams. So this was a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, I feel like the Victoire are very confident, and they're, in my mind, they're making this pick because of the goaltending. Why on earth would you want to choose a U.S. Olympic champion goaltender, which is what you get in the 1 and 2? Now, just to remind everyone, you don't get to choose the number 2 seed. Not that, again, you ever would, but you don't get that. You can't upset somebody's home ice advantage. So the top 2 teams are the top 2 teams, but the first place team gets to choose between the 3rd and 4th. And I don't know what next year's playoffs will look like if expansion is indeed coming, what'll happen then, because of course this was half the field this year. It went from, 4 teams of 6. This year was 4 teams of 8.
That was exactly what Tegan was talking about. She goes, Dave, I got to find out about this playoffs.
I just thought you might have the inside scoop. Are they going to be adding more teams to the playoff format? Because like you said, there's only half of them in there.
I always have to tell everyone I am not the authority. I'm just going with what the feeling in the gut is. But expansion was always on the table this season, and initially there were comments made to media about between 2 to 4 teams. I believe that's been echoed yet again, that it's going to be that. Now, whether all 4 teams, if it is 4 or whatever, that they'll all start next season, TBD. We have no clue where. There's a lot of interesting reports going around of places that never got a takeover tour game. So this would all be new to us because, of course, the 2 teams, Vancouver, Seattle, that were added last season, first of all, those were announced April 23rd and April 30th. So we're getting very close to when Seattle was announced last season. But the point is, they were very successful takeover tour games, even though we've also always been told it's not just about the attendance. It comes down to the community interest, the minor hockey culture around the women's game in said city or market, a number of factors, right? And just to remind everyone at home, the league does currently own all these teams. So this isn't about having to find an owner in the market yet. But of course, you have to think that that's going to be a big part of the discussion is there that corporate interest and growth so that if and when that time comes, those teams can stay in those markets.
Maybe this is an outsider looking in, but to me, it seems like everything the PWHL has touched has turned to gold. Do they need to be worried? Like, again, if you're going expansion, and again, the takeover tour from my outside perspective, and that's where I guess I ask you, Daniella, is it looks like everything is all roses. Everything is great. Can you do that in 2 and or 4 other markets in 1 year?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It seems like whatever decision is going to be made is the decision that's going to be best. And you're right. So far, it has all come out really wonderful, and I do want to give so much credit to the Olympic bump that happened this season. Not that our attendance was down at all; our attendance was doing very well. But just to give you some perspective, you go from some takeover tour spots being kind of close to full, maybe not fully sold out, to Olympics hits, and that's sold out. I mean, that's just fact when you look at the ticket sales. So there was absolutely a post-Olympic bump. The American markets, oh my, did they ever benefit from that? It makes sense. Their team not only obviously won the Olympics, but it just revived this energy and passion around their sports and what's available. Let's not forget the impact of heated rivalry. Truly, I know that might sound a little crazy, but when it comes to our market and the LGBTQS community being a huge part of the fandom of this league and wanting to spend their dollars in this league, whether it's going to a takeover tour game or otherwise. So there's so many factors that made this third season especially extra sweet. I mean, the fact is we hit 1 million fans in this season alone, whereas last season, towards the end, we finally had 1 million fans through the first 2 seasons. That also comes with, of course, bigger buildings. Toronto had a very small building year 1, year 2, obviously tripled in size. So there's a lot of factors. You start adding in these games like Madison Square Garden, where you're getting 18,000, 19,000. It's very exciting. But you're right. I mean, you can look at this 2 ways. Do you slow down because of that? But at the end of the day, this league has got its plans set. They've never been shy of making those bold and seemingly fast decisions. And again, I'm not their spokesperson. I'm just someone who gets to enjoy the view, sort of not from the inside, but from a very unique seat. Because you do see it all. You see the teams traveling so much more. You see the intense pickup in schedules, but then you also see these athletes finally getting massive platforms and these incredible deals on the side, and like all these amazing things happening, and this big groundswell of attention to the league. That's my not so succinct way of saying I'm not sure, Dave. But it is true. It's a very exciting time. I'm enjoying it. But I have to say, I trust the decision makers in this league. They've done a great job so far, and here's hoping that they can continue to forge ahead in the right way.
You bring up one of those attendance factors being the Olympic bump, and I think that we all are aware of that. But for a strong Saskatchewan contingent and fans of women's hockey, I know they're going to be watching one name in particular. I know I was poking fun at Ottawa hockey fans, but Emily Clark, Ottawa Charge. For young players, what does this say to them about the growth of the game and being able to watch someone on such a massive stage like that?
I mean, Emily Clark is an inspiration to all of us. I think back to when I first got to meet her. It was right after she had earned silver, we'll put it that way, in 2018. And I remember meeting her for the first time. She'd come home, and there was just a small little group of fans who were welcoming her back at the Saskatoon airport. She was so gracious, of course. And obviously that means so much to have people welcome you. And now that's changed where you got people lining the streets ready to meet you. She's got her own beer. There's all this excitement. But I think it just goes to show that no matter where you're from, if you work hard and you continue to push forward and try your best and just keep pushing your limits, take risks, go to the Olympics and fall just short of a gold. It doesn't mean anything. You can still be one of the best, if not the best in the world. I mean, she is. We know that. She's won gold for Canada since then. But the point is, she's just an inspiration, truly, even for me, because I'm someone from the prairies who didn't ever think, I didn't know where I'd go in my career, let alone, to more of a national stage. And she finally gets that. I also do want to shout out the fact that this year's playoffs features all 3 Saskatchewan players. So you've got Emily Clark, Brooke Hobson are both now on the Charge. Brooke Hobson was with the New York Sirens the last 2 years. She's a defender. She's one of their best. She was injured for 7 of the last 8 games, but then she came back Saturday and got an assist on the first goal. So she's a big impact player for them. And of course, Sophie Shirley as well. She'll be back with Boston. She was the first Saskatchewan player to play in the playoffs because New York and Ottawa weren't in there year 1. So really exciting time. And I love that. Great representation. We've also got Maritimers, Atlantic Canadians in the mix. It's pretty great representation.
So if I may just shift gears here really quick, because I know we are running out of time and you're a busy person. Okay, you were at game 1 in Buffalo.
Yeah. Yes.
Buffalo Sabres when they pulled off that big 4-3 win over the Bruins. I just need to know from your perspective, what in the world was it like being in that rink?
Oh, it was so fun. It was, this is what I love about sports. I love those big moments, and I will give full credit. My boyfriend's the lifelong Sabres fan, and it has been so fun getting acquainted with that fan base and that team over the last few years, because obviously Buffalo is like a 2-hour drive for us, right? It's really close. It's like between here and Regina and Saskatoon. So we love to go. The food is great. The fans are great. The vibes are great. Of course, I was a little nervous getting in there, but as soon as you see Sabretooth, the mascot, rappelling, I'm pretty sure he had tears in his eyes. Like, it was epic. Like, that alone set the whole scene. And then, of course, it gets a little bit dicey when there's no goals and then you're down 2. As soon as the first one went in, it was just like this. You could feel everyone's weight and emotion just release. It was so awesome. I mean, listen, I got to witness, and I know Dave did too, in Winnipeg, the Riders winning the Grey Cup. There's always that feeling when you haven't been in those moments for a long time, that just collective relief and just, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. But that was wild. And then they just scored again, and they scored again. I did not have a voice the next day, which was not great, but it was
in your
awesome.
line of work?
I'm so
yeah,
glad.
not ideal.
Not ideal. It was a rough Tuesday broadcast, but we got through it. But thanks for asking. No, it was amazing. I'm so glad we went, and we moved quite a few things around to get there, but it's very exciting. Really exciting.
Did you see the Blade Gang? The fans fully dressed up in uniform with rollerblades on? Okay.
But I saw the videos after. Yeah. I saw the videos after.
I just needed to know. And then also a lot of people being shocked by the fact that they play the Canadian anthem in that barn.
Yes, so I knew that because I've been obviously to Buffalo games, and I've always actually appreciate that about that team. I mean, they're not technically my team, but obviously I'm backing them now. But the point is, I thought that was just such a classy touch, and they've always done that. They've done that since, I believe, the 90s. So maybe not always, but for a very long time, and that's never changed. They deeply respect their Canadian fans, and they have many. I mean, we saw some pretty long lines to cross the border when we were there that day, and they were moving people pretty quickly, but there's a lot of fans in Canada.
And they do find like little ways. I was even talking to Dave about this. I was doing a little bit more research as to why they do this, and I think, it's obvious as to why, but even the way they spell sabers, it's R-E, not E-R. It's the Canadianized version, right?
It just looks better. I mean, Canadian spelling over American spelling. No, but it really was special when I first witnessed that. I'm like, that is really amazing, because obviously when it's a Canadian team they're playing, you don't even think of it, but it was an all-American matchup, and hey, check it out. Like, that's a very classy touch. And I know it's tough because on the one hand, I'm also someone who's like, I don't know if we need to have anthems at every game. Playoffs are different, but I'm talking about like just every game in a season. But at the same time, if you're going to do an anthem every game, why not include the 2 anthems of the countries that make your league what it is? So very nice touch.
At least fans have stopped booing the anthems. I'm glad we're past that.
Yeah, why are you bringing that up?
Exactly.
Because I knew people were going to start texting in about it, okay?
Don't remind people that we're supposed to be unhappy. No, I'm just kidding.
We're all just getting along
now. That was
now.
always very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable, sort of navigating that time. So you're right, we are making progress there.
Well, I'm glad you were able to hang up the headphones and watch what was one hell of a game in Buffalo.
Oh, it was so much fun. I love being a fan, right? Like, I just love sports. I love being a fan as much as anything else. And it was really special. I think my voice is still a bit raw from that. That was like a week ago. Just the screams and the excitement. It was really awesome.
Well, I'm glad that you had a great time, and I hope that you enjoy the PWHL playoffs when the quest for the Walter Cup starts a little bit later on this week, Daniella. And as always, really appreciate the time.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.